Some of the foods doing the most quiet damage to your brain aren't sitting in the snack aisle. They're the ones you reach for because you're trying to eat well. They have words like natural and low fat and whole grain on the front of the package. Some of them your doctor may have even nodded along to, and that's exactly why they slip past. In June of this year, researchers at Harvard published something that should change how you look at your kitchen. They followed more than 5,000 older adults for nearly 9 years, and what they found about a certain category of food was not subtle. Today, on Neura Notes, we're going through 5 foods most people believe are healthy and what the research actually says about your brain. And number 1 is probably in your refrigerator right now. Now, before we go any further, let me be straight with you because that's the whole point of this channel. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to diagnose anything, and I'm not selling a supplement or a meal plan. What I do is read the research and bring you what it actually found with the real sources in the description, so you never have to take my word for it. And I want to be careful about something, because this kind of video can easily go wrong. I am not going to tell you that any single food gave anyone dementia. That is not how any of this works, and anyone who says otherwise is selling something. What the research shows is a pattern, that people who eat a lot of a certain kind of food over years tend to end up with worse memory and higher risk than people who don't. That's an association, not a curse. And it's one you can change at any age. So nothing on this list is poison. Nothing here means you did something wrong. This is about what's on your plate most days, not what you ate last Sunday. That said, number 1 on this list genuinely surprised me. It's a food a lot of people over 60 eat specifically because they think it's the lean, sensible choice. And in Harvard's data, it carried the highest risk of anything they measured. So stay with me to the end for that one. And before we start, I want to know something. Which of these 5 do you eat in a normal week? Just count as we go, and put the number in the comments at the end, along with your age. I read every one of them, and what this audience tells me shapes what I cover next. Before the countdown, one idea, and once you have it, every item on this list makes sense. Researchers use a term called ultra-processed food. It sounds technical, but the test is simple. Could I make this in my own kitchen? An apple isn't ultra-processed. Bread you bake yourself isn't. But a product built in a factory, with ingredients you wouldn't keep in a cupboard, emulsifiers, stabilizers, colorings, added sweeteners, that is. It's not about whether food is cooked or packaged. It's about how far it's been engineered away from the thing it started as. Here's why your brain cares. In June, Harvard researchers published a study in the American Journal of Public Health, following more than 5,300 older adults for around 9 years. The people eating the most ultra-processed food had a considerably higher risk of developing dementia than the people eating the least, and the difference was not small. One of the researchers looking at the data said it appears there may not be a safe level. Why would this happen? These foods are high in added sugar, sodium, and saturated fat, and low in fiber, a combination linked to the very conditions that raise dementia risk. And certain additives appear to shift the balance of bacteria in the gut in ways associated with inflammation. Think of it like fuel with grit in it. The engine still runs, but over years, you're wearing down parts you can't replace. That's the thread through everything on today's list. Number 5, flavored yogurt. Plain yogurt is a genuinely good food. Protein, calcium, live cultures, no argument. But the little cups with fruit on the bottom are a different product. Nutritionists call what happens here the health halo. The word yogurt does so much work that people stop reading the rest of the label. And when you do read it, some single-serving flavored yogurts carry more added sugar than a chocolate bar, not comparable to more than. Why that matters at your age. A fast sugar load produces a rise, then an overcorrection, then a dip. Do that most days for years, and you're asking your body to manage a roller coaster it handles less efficiently than it did at 40. And it's the small vessels feeding brain tissue that suffer first when glucose runs high over the long term. So don't give up yogurt. Change which one. Buy plain and add the flavor yourself. A handful of berries, a little cinnamon. You control the amount and you get the berries' benefit at the same time. Now, number 4 is the one I see in the most kitchens, and it might be the best disguise on this list. Number 4, granola, and the bars made from it. This one is well disguised because the ingredients on the front are real. Oats, nuts, seeds. Every one of those is a food I'd recommend on its own. The problem is what holds it together. Commercial granola is bound with syrup or honey and baked in oil. That's what makes it clump and crisp. So a food that began as oats and nuts arrives in your bowl, carrying a substantial amount of added sugar and processed oil, and the bars are worse, not better. Some healthy snack bars carry as much sugar as a candy bar. The difference is the packaging, which shows a wheat field instead of a cartoon. There's also a portion trap. Granola is dense. The serving size on the box is often 1/4 of a cup, far less than most people pour. Fill a normal breakfast bowl, and you may be eating 3 or 4 times what's on the label, including 3 or 4 times the sugar. If you like the crunch, make it yourself. Oats, chopped nuts, a little cinnamon, lightly toasted. 15 minutes and it keeps for weeks. Now, number 3 is something a lot of people over 60 drink every morning, believing it's one of the healthiest things they do all day. Quick pause. If this is useful, if it feels like someone's finally reading the labels on your behalf, take a second and subscribe. It costs nothing, and it's what decides whether this reaches the next person who needs it. Now, number 3, the one people defend the hardest. Number 3, fruit juice. And yes, including the 100%, no sugar added, freshly squeezed kind. I know. This one bothers people. It bothered me. The problem isn't the fruit. When you eat a whole orange, you get the sugar and the fiber wrapped up in the structure of it. That fiber slows everything down. The sugar enters gradually, and you feel full afterwards. Juice removes the fiber and keeps the sugar, and it concentrates it, because it takes several oranges to fill one glass, far more than you'd ever sit down and eat. One neurologist put the numbers side by side. A 12-ounce glass of orange juice carries a sugar load in the same range as a 12-ounce can of cola, similar amount arriving just as fast. The difference is that one of them has a healthy reputation. The fix is the easiest one on this list, and it costs less than the juice does. Eat the orange. You get the vitamin C, you get the fiber, you feel fuller, and there's no spike. Now, number 2 is a category built entirely on the promise of being the healthier choice. Number 2, the sugar-free aisle. Diet drinks, sugar-free desserts, light yogurts. The logic seems airtight. If sugar is the problem, remove the sugar. And a lot of people over 60 made this switch on medical advice. But the research has become more complicated, and you deserve the honest version. Last September, a study in neurology followed nearly 13,000 adults for about 8 years, tracking 7 low and no-calorie sweeteners. The people consuming the most showed faster decline in thinking and memory than the people consuming the least, roughly equivalent to an extra 1.5 years of brain aging. Now here's the part where I have to be honest with you, and where most videos wouldn't be. That finding appeared in the adults under 60. In the participants over 60, researchers did not find the same association. And the study shows a link, not proof of cause. So why is it still on this list? Because most of the products these sweeteners live in are ultra-processed by definition. And that's the category Harvard connected to higher dementia risk in older adults specifically. The sweetener may not be the whole story. The product it's inside might be. So, not panic. Substitution. Sparkling water with lemon instead of the diet drink. Plain yogurt with fruit instead of the light one. Now, number 1, the food that carried the highest risk of anything Harvard measured, and the one most people eat because they think it's the sensible option. Number 1 is the turkey sandwich. I want to say that plainly because it's the last thing most people expect on a list like this. Sliced turkey, ham, deli chicken, the lean, protein-rich lunch that a great many people over 60 eat several times a week, often instead of something they consider less healthy. When Harvard's researchers broke their data down by category, processed meats came out at the top. Of everything they measured, that group carried the highest risk of dementia and cognitive impairment. So what makes deli meat different from the chicken you roast yourself? Preservation. Processed meat has been cured, salted, smoked, or treated with preservatives to keep it stable on a shelf. That's what makes it convenient, and that's what changes it. These products carry a very high sodium load, along with preservatives researchers have been studying for years. And sodium matters enormously for the brain. High sodium raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure damages the small vessels feeding brain tissue. That's one of the most established pathways to memory decline. It's not exotic science. It's the thing your doctor checks every visit. I want to point out the cruelty of this one. If you switched from red meat to sliced turkey because you were trying to look after your heart, which is exactly what a lot of people were told to do, you moved toward the food that came out worst. That's not your fault. The advice reflected what was understood at the time. The alternative is easy. Roast a chicken breast on the weekend. Slice it. Keep it in the fridge. Same sandwich, costs less, and it's simply meat. Not meat, plus a preservation system. And if you're not giving up ham at Christmas, don't. Nobody is asking you to. The research is about most days. The sandwich you eat 3 times a week, not the meal you eat 3 times a year. So let's pull this together, because there's one idea underneath all 5. Not one of these foods is dangerous in itself. What they share is that each has been engineered, sugar added, fiber removed, preservatives introduced, and then marketed with a word that made you relax. Natural, light, lean, whole grain. The simplest rule I've found, and the one the research supports, the closer a food is to the thing it started as, the better your brain seems to do on it. Not perfect, not organic, just closer to the original. Plain yogurt and real berries, oats you toast yourself, a whole orange, water, chicken you cooked. That's not a diet. It's a direction. And the honest note, because you'll never get anything else here, this is general information, not medical advice. These studies show associations, not proof that any food causes anything. If you have a health condition or take medication, talk to your own doctor before making changes, especially if you were told to use sugar-free products for a medical reason. And be careful of anyone who tells you a single food will damage or save your memory. That's not what this research says. It says the pattern over years tends to matter, and patterns can be changed at any age. Quick recap in case you came in partway through. 5 foods that sound healthier than they are: flavored yogurt, granola and snack bars, fruit juice, sugar-free products, and at number 1, processed and deli meats. So, how many of the 5 are in your kitchen right now? Put the number in the comments and your age with it. I read every single one. And if this was useful, if it felt like someone finally gave you the honest version instead of a headline, subscribe here to Neura Notes. Every week I bring you what the research actually says about your brain and your memory with the real sources so you never have to just trust me. In the next video, we're going to look at your breakfast because for a lot of people over 60, the first meal of the day is quietly working against them, and the fix takes about 5 minutes. Until then, take good care of yourself. You're worth the effort.